Congratulations on passing Section 3 and welcome to Section 4 of the Avoiding Plagiarism workshop, Avoiding Plagiarism during the Writing Process. As a reminder, you need to score 80% or higher on this section in order to advance to the next one. You have 2 attempts to score 80% or higher. Let's review one of the major concepts from the last section. What is the solution to avoiding accidental plagiarism? Start early. You'll hear that a lot. By now, you should have a better understanding of the types of plagiarism. You should also have considered using a note-taking system during the research process to help you avoid plagiarism during the writing process. Let's consider the ways that you can integrate your source material into your paper. There are 3 basic methods of integrating your sources. In order of the degree of difficulty, let's start with the easiest, quotation. With a quotation, you're using the source word for word. Of course, you still need to provide a citation for it, but you don't need to change anything. Keep in mind that just because it's the easiest way does not mean it's the best way. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute. The next easiest way to integrate your sources during the writing process is by using paraphrase. A paraphrase uses your own words, but you need to change both the words and the sentence structures from the original passage. Don't fall into the find replace trap. You really need to think hard about what your source says. A paraphrase normally deals with a very specific portion of a text that may have several ideas. You need to paraphrase each idea. Just so you know, a paraphrase is roughly the same length as the original, and you still need to cite the source. I know. Even if it's your own words describing the idea, if the idea wasn't yours originally, it needs to have a citation. Finally, we come to the most difficult way to integrate your sources, summary. A summary requires significant critical thinking. You will be thinking about the main point or points and putting them into your own words. But a summary is much shorter than the original. It's a condensed version. Think of it like a movie trailer for the source. And yes, it still needs a citation. Once again, what's our solution to accidental plagiarism? Start early. Now that you know that quotation is the easiest way to integrate your sources, you may be tempted to use just that method. But there's a catch. You want to use quotations sparingly in order to avoid having your paper just be a patchwork quilt of other people's ideas. Remember, your instructors want to know what you think about your topic, not just what the experts say. You should also avoid using quotes of more than 40 words. Again, it might be tempting to have long quotes to eat up some of the word count for your essay, but your instructors want your views. And finally, you should consider the uniqueness of the quote before you decide whether or not to use it word for word. Make sure that when you decide to use a quotation, it stands out. Cool car, I know. I always think about the Martin Luther King Jr. quote, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Now that's a quote that you would want to keep in its perfect form. Be judicious when deciding what to use as a direct quote, and as always, be sure to cite. What are you discovering about avoiding plagiarism during the writing process? Start early. It takes time. Here's an idea for putting your papers together. I call it the alt font method. As I write the rough draft, I don't worry much about the citation format. Instead, I bring the ideas from the notes that I took during the research process and change the font color for any cited material. That's a place marker for me to know that I need to go back and double check for the right citation format before I turn in the paper. As I fix them, I changed the font back to the original black. In addition, there are some great tools for integrating sources with verbs of attribution on the internet. A link is included in this section, so you might want to consider them as you work on revising the cited material. What should you do to avoid plagiarism? Start early. Shall we take a look at two types of citing? Yes, let's. First, you can use integration with a verb of attribution to create a smooth sentence structure that flows into your writing rather than simply dropping in a quote. Here's an example of a list of general verbs of attribution that was created by Centralia College. Now let's take a look at how you would use them. Fox proposes that the frequent incidents of student frustration and disillusionment indicate students' desire to learn, with the citation at the end. The top one is an example of MLA using a verb of attribution, and the bottom one is APA using a verb of attribution. Remember, you still have to add the additional information that's required for the citation style, but incorporating the quotation into your sentence makes it really smooth on the reader. Another way to cite is parenthetical. Rather than having the author's name integrated into the sentence, it appears in parentheses at the end of the sentence with whatever additional information is required for the citation style. This one is in MLA and this one is in APA. The one thing that you need to remember is to start early. Proper citation takes time. Let's consider some questions to ask yourself to self-evaluate your work for plagiarism. Have you cited every source? Have you checked to make sure that your direct quotes are unique? Does every source on your works cited or references page have a citation in the body of paper? Have you double-checked your citation format? Have you met with someone at the Writing Center or had someone else review your work? Remember, you have plenty of help right here on campus. We at the library can connect you to some great sites for examples of citation formats, and the Writing Center has some wonderful tutors to help you on the journey. Remember, we're hornets, and hornets help each other, so don't be afraid to reach out if you're unsure. Select Next to answer the questions about avoiding plagiarism during the writing process.